This is a really good example because we've got what's called a, I'll just move the boy. We've got, excuse me little fella, I need to put you up the stairs. Hello, so I'll take you through a little training session on masking tape, and we'll go through it just like we're sitting down together, and I'm just explaining to you how to use masking tape and the different tips that I can give you in relation to how to mask off properly, and then a couple of the don'ts with masking tape. But it's a very useful tool to use, and but you still got to do a little bit of training on how to use it properly, because if you don't, you can still make a mess, even if you just use masking tape rather than using a brush to get a straight line, especially when you're a brand new painter and you're just learning, so the masking tape can get a lovely straight line until you get very good on the brush. Or if we're doing silicone joints or polyurethane joints, well then it's definitely vital to have masking tape. Even a pro needs to use it in a lot of cases, because we've just got to keep those lines really, really spot on. Now there are different types of masking tape, and you've sort of got to know their purposes and what happens when they're not used in the right instance. So for example, here we've got a white masking tape, and this is probably the most well-known one, and the original masking tape, and I'll try and find the end of it somewhere here. Should be, sometimes they're a bit hard to find. And it's quite often used on the inside of homes when we're doing painting, or down to a floor. We want to mask the floor so we don't paint on the floor, to a skirting board and so forth. And the difference, it's white, and this one, it's sticky and it's blue. So what's the difference, right? And the difference basically is that these ones are meant for indoor surfaces, and also the sticky is a bit stronger on these ones. For some reason, we just find that it's a lot stronger, and when you finish the masking, you take the masking tape up and it actually tears the paint off. So you've got to be quite careful using the white masking tape. We generally just go 100% with the blue one. It's just got a better release with the adhesion, and it doesn't tear the paint off afterwards. Another don't do with this one is if this is left on the outside, and sometimes guys will mask up, and they'll mask up an area and they'll leave it over the weekend, or they'll leave it for a matter of days, and when they come back it just adheres to the surface, and you're trying to pull it off and it just sticks off, and it sticks on the surface and it won't come off, and then you've got to clean it up, and then you literally have to end up painting it again anyway, just because it's been left on the surface and the sun bakes it onto the surface. So it's just a bit of a no-go doing the external painting with this fella. So I'm just going to skip it and we'll go to the blue one. The blue one, it's easy to use. The tape has sort of refined it over the years. They've made it really super thin, so you sort of get more linear meters in your roll. It's easier to use, and of course you don't want to leave it on for too long a period of time. And you also, when you finish the coat, you do want to take it off after the coat's been done, because if you take it off the next day, as you pull the tape off the surface, it'll tear and lift the paint, and you get like this really it's basically a defective line, because it's torn the paint off on the surface where the paint lapped onto the tape there. So it's really good to get a straight line, but when you finish with the painting with it, you want to get the paint nice and thin up against it, and then all done, you pull your tape off, and you'll see a little clip there in a moment how that happens, and you don't get the jagged or the tearing up of the paint, because the paint's still wet while we're bringing it off the surface. Now, when you're doing like corners, and especially when you've got a like a doorway or a skirting board, or like what we'll do a little bit of taping around some line marking here. I've got a couple of lines around. We've got a yellow safety line around the gym there, which is good, which isolates it. Let's say that was time to repaint, and we've got to get the masking tape in around the corner and around the inside of the corner. I'll do a demo with you and just show you a couple of little tricks on how to do it quickly and how to get the line as straight as possible without having to worry about worrying about measuring or doing a bit by bit. Just how to get a nice fast markup, and you might waste just a tiny little bit of tape, but you actually get the corners just spot on. So we'll come down to the corner just here now. Alright, now, so you see on this is a really good example because we've got what's called I'll just move the boy. We've got what's called an outside corner and an inside corner. The outside one is really simple because we just run the tape one way and then we can cross it over and we don't have to cut any of the tape. Excuse me, little fella. The outside corner is really easy because we just cross over on the corner. Basically take right on the corner there so you can see like a hair of light between it, and then you just run through, tap it down, and then tap it again just next to the line. We've got a beautiful straight line there. But just imagine we're going to paint that far. Now on this side here, we just want to press the tape along that edge there so that there's no way the paint can leak in underneath that bit of masking tape. Let's come across the other way now. Again, I just hold the tape right on the line there, just to tack it in place, and then with my fingers, just drop it down. That's beautiful. So, just got a tiny little bit of a line where the light gets past there, and if we paint that, we're going to get a beautiful squared off line. Now, the next part is getting the inside corner. You see that was easy, we just overlapped, not a big deal. But the inside corner, if I come along and I just tap it down again, pat the tape down nicely. Now, we'll see, and then I can just pull it straight and line it up with the line that I want to push it down on. There we go. And again, I just want to get that inside line there just right. But right here, okay, rather than trying to get the tape just right and press it down, all I've got to do is I just hold a little blade there, or a little straight edge, and I just pull it up and it cuts a perfect little corner for me. And now I come along this side. Good, and just tack it along again. Just get the corner just right. Okay, and again, we lose a little bit of tape. I just come to the corner and I just, look at that, pop it up. Now, so it just saves trying to get it right and trying to get the end right to land in the corner. Just pop a blade on there, just lift it up and it tears and it gives you a perfect edge on the corner there now. And again, I press it down so that that surface is beautiful and tight where I'm going to paint up against the edge. I put the coat of paint over there, nice even coat. Not too thick on these edges because I don't want it when I pull the paint up to be thick on there because it will then bleed across the surface. But again, just a correct coating, and then when I finished, just lift my tape up, and then we're going to have a beautiful straight edge and we let it dry. So there are probably about 1,000 more uses for masking tape, and you'll see some pros. They know exactly where to use it, when to use it, the exact type of tape to use. But I hope that little trick on how to get an outside corner and an inside corner without having to worry about measuring it too much comes in handy. It sure does for us. And just one last tip on applying masking tape or putting masking tape onto edges. I'm just going to show you how to put it onto an edge, and I'm going to do two techniques. Just have a look at them and see if you can let me know which one would be the best way to do it. Okay, so that's the first way, right? Now I'll do the second way. Good, so in your opinion, which one do you think would be the best? If you guessed number 2, you're definitely with me, because number 1 you saw working very carefully, bit by bit by bit by bit. But if we have a look at the clock, how much time did it take to do the first way compared to the second way? Probably about 3 times faster. And when you're a boss with a team of guys that want to move through a project quickly, definitely time is a very important factor. And one more point about the second technique for putting masking tape on is that if I pull the masking tape tight, I get a nice straight line, and I'll actually get a much straighter line than I would have gotten by doing small bits and pieces. It can get a little bit jagged, but by pulling it tight, you get a beautiful straight line on your painting.